WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Ghana's President Mahama says AU's lack of progress is due to reliance on external financial assistance.
One of the fundamental pillars of reform is AU's financial autonomy. The over-reliance on external partners for funding compromises the organization's independence.
Leadership of the Gambia's APRC denies Jammeh's claim of taking control over party.
Now, according to the laws of this country, an individual cannot own a party. Even to register a political party, if you are alone, you go for independent. Because there's a list of executive members' names you need to fill in.
A coalition of CSOs in Niger is set to mark the first anniversary of the AES countries leaving ECOWAS with a march. And the trial of cyber activists in Benin postponed to March 10. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us. This afternoon we'll begin with Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama's speech, where he cited over-reliance on external financial assistance as one of the major challenges confronting the African Union. Speaking at a high-level retreat on AU institutional reforms held at Kenya State House in Nairobi on Monday, President Mahama underscored the importance of creating sustainable internal funding systems for Africa to take control of its development agenda. WDL's Nadia Tete completes the story.
President John Dramani Mahama has raised concerns about the African Union's heavy reliance on external financial support, describing it as a major obstacle to the Union's progress. He stated that this dependence undermines the AU's independence and limits its ability to set and pursue its own priorities. Speaking at the opening of a two-day high-level retreat on institutional reforms in Nairobi, Kenya, President Mahama emphasized the need for a sustainable internal funding mechanism to enable Africa take charge of its own development agenda.
One of the fundamental pillars of reform is AU's financial autonomy. The over-reliance on external partners for funding compromises the organization's independence and ability to set its own agenda. The implementation of the Kigali decision on financing the Union must be expedited. A self-reliant African Union is not just a vision we have, it is an imperative to achieve.
On the issue of insurgency and terrorism in Africa, particularly within the ECOWAS region, President Mahama called on the AU to prioritize financial backing for Africa's standby force. He explained that this support is crucial to strengthening the force's capacity to address crises and combat terrorism, which pose significant threats to the continent's stability and growth.
Without peace, there can be no development. The AU must strengthen its capacity to prevent, mediate, and resolve conflicts. This includes adequately resourcing the African Standby Force and leveraging partnerships to address emergency threats such as terrorism, cybercrime, and climate-induced displacements.
The retreat serves as a platform for African leaders to evaluate and enhance collaboration among AU member states with the aim of fostering stronger relationships and advancing the continent's collective goals. For WADR, Nadia Tete, Accra.
Meanwhile, international relations expert Dr. Michael Nketia says the over-reliance on foreign aid and funds and support has made the African Union a shadow of itself. His reaction follows a statement of Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama linking the region's bloc's challenges to reliance on foreign aid. According to Dr. Nketia, the bloc has more than enough resources to develop the region in special areas needing intervention.
Since its establishment and even in modern times, the African Union has solely been dependent on foreign aid, either financially, militarily, or logistically. Even if in our current dispensation, if you look at the headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa, it was built by the Chinese and donated to the continent. And in countries where issues of conflict, instability, civil wars have broken out. The Democratic Republic of Congo, for instance, the peacekeeping mission there is a United Nations peacekeeping mission in part of the Sahelian states where we had the MINUSMA. These were all United Nations funded peacekeeping missions. And it's quite frightening that a continent with about 60 or so countries, sovereign states, fully independent, with abundance of resources, years and decades of democratic rule and establishment, we have failed woefully in mobilizing resources to pursue the African Union agenda of economic integration and then also guaranteeing the peace and security of Africa. It is hard time that members of the African Union and by extension all sovereign states on the continent.
Dr. Michael Nkate is an international relations expert. In Liberia, President Joseph Boakai has delivered his annual State of the Nation's address, highlighting road constructions, healthcare services as his major achievements. This comes as Liberians await the timely resolution of inclusive development from President Boakai and his government as it works to confronting challenges in the country, even as citizens strive for a better, more peaceful, sustainable and inclusive global community. Grace Joshua in Monrovia completes the story.
Article 58 of the Liberia Constitution mandates the President to deliver an annual message outlining the legislative agenda and to report on the state of the economies as well as the general affairs of the Republic. According to President Boakai, his first 100 days in office addressed the people's needs and aspiration, providing relief from years of hardship and uncertainty.
The security of the state and the sanctity of our Republic, though may be assailed, may be threatened, however, it can never be broken. No one's personal ambition can ever outweigh the importance of our peace and security. We started with a 100-day plan.
President Joseph Boakai highlighted immense challenges, adding that the country stands in between places today than when it first began, noting that in the year under review, he issued 14 executive orders addressing the urgent needs of the government, including establishing the Office of the War and Economics Crown Court and the National Railway Authority. For News Link on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
The deputy spokesperson of the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, the PRC, Dudu Jah, says former President Yahya Jammeh does not own any political party in the Gambia. This comes amid Jammeh's recent comment that he has reclaimed the party's leadership. However, the current PRC deputy spokesperson, speaking on local television, said Jammeh has no legal means to own a party.
When Jammeh said that we were expelled, they made a list of executive members that are going to replace us, and it was sent to the IEC. The IEC told them, no, we can't recognize this. Political parties don't change their executive this way. One person said they are removed and these are the new executive. You go to Congress. If you want to change a whole executive committee, you go to Congress, of which the IEC will be present. So the rules are there, and they are the referees. So when Jammeh comes out and make a speech, maybe the No to Alliance, they're not legally registered anywhere. So IEC has no say in what the No to Alliance does, etc. Because anywhere they want to put up a candidate, the candidate is independent. They don't use APRC. Because legally, it is us who are in charge of APRC. Yahya Jammeh has been he did not use No to Alliance. He's saying APRC, my party. And an individual cannot own a party. It's only Jammeh you listen to, it tells you my party. I've not had any other leader in this country. Now, according to the laws of this country, an individual cannot own a party. Even to register a political party, if you are alone, you go for independent. Because there's a list of executive members' names you need to fill in. There are other criteria you need to follow. So as an individual, be it Jammeh or whoever, you cannot own a party. You can be the leader, you can be the founder, I am the pioneer, all these titles fits in. But it cannot be yours legally.
That was the voice of the deputy spokesperson of the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction of the Gambia, Dudu Jah. In the meantime, the Malian army has announced the neutralization of Abdul Azimen, an influential local jihadist leader, during an operation carried out on Saturday in the Echel sector north of Niafunke in the Timbuktu region north. Jihadist leader Azimen was neutralized during an operation led by the Malian Armed Forces, which also resulted in the elimination of several individuals, the destruction of logistics plots, and the seizure of various equipment, including components used to manufacture improvised explosive devices, IEDs. Echatisu completes the story.
Abu Aziman was wanted for multiple abuses against civil populations and repeated attacks against Malian military positions, the General Staff of the Armed Forces said in a statement. During this intervention, Malian forces intercepted a DJI drone bearing the inscription CSPDPA, a name that until recently referred to the alliance of northern rebel groups. This name was replaced in recent weeks by that of the Azawad Liberation Front, FLA. This neutralization is part of a series of operations carried out by the Malian army to secure the Timbuktu region, where armed groups continue to operate despite an intensification of military actions. On January 3, the farmer captured Mohamed Oud Ekehil, alias Abu Rakia, a leader of the Islamic State in the Sahel, ISIS, near Borem in the Gao region. This arrest adds to the recent successes of the Malian forces in the fight against terrorism, notably with the surrender of several fighters in the Guma region last December. These operations take place in the context of growing power of the Malian army, determined to weaken the terrorist groups active in the north of the country.
Echatisu filed their report. More news from the Sahel now. In Niger, civil society organizations united in a coalition held a press conference on Monday to call on the population to mobilize for a march following a rally to mark the first anniversary of the AES country's departure from ECOWAS. Our correspondent in Niger, Mutala Zubairu, sent in this report, which is voiced by Gosin Koli.
According to the Coalition of Civil Society Organizations, the first anniversary of the withdrawal of the three AES countries deserves to be celebrated with demonstrations in the three member countries. Hassan Boubacar is the Secretary General of the Coalition of Nigerian Civil Society Organizations.
Si nous étions sortis spontanément le 28 janvier 2024,
if we had a spontaneous situation on January 28, 2024, why should we wait until January 28, 2025 to act? This is because we are indefinitely out of ECOWAS. That is why the coalition deemed it necessary to hold this press conference to unite all civil society structures and various social and professional groups in Niger. This is to respond to the call for sovereignty, the call for independent union, the call for self-determination, and to counter imperialist interference, including from France and NATO, which are undermining our sovereignty. We are saying a definitive no to ECOWAS.
Pour défendre la souveraineté, pour dire non définitivement à la CEDEAO.
It should be noted that this march, followed by a rally, aims to support the definitive withdrawal of the AES countries from ECOWAS, as decided by the three heads of state of the Sahel Confederation on January 29, 2024.
That was Mutara Zubairu's report in Niamey, voiced by Gosin Koli. You're listening to News Link on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and via partner stations across the sub-region. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Ghana's President Mahama says AU's lack of progress is due to reliance on external financial assistance. Leadership of the Gambia's APRC denies Jammeh's claim of taking over party. A coalition of CSOs in Niger is set to mark the first anniversary of the AES countries leaving ECOWAS with a rally. Still ahead, trial of cyber activist Steve Amosu in Benin postponed to March 10. We do have the press review, a guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, you can listen to us live on wadr.org and watch a live stream on YouTube and Facebook. Now, in Benin, a trial of cyber activist Steve Amosu could not proceed on Monday. It has since been postponed to March 10, 2025. The Court for the Suppression of Economic Offences and Terrorism had made this decision following strong objections raised by the defence. More details from our correspondent in Cotonou, Aziz Adam Soleil, and voiced by Christopher Aticho.
The hearing, which began at 1:40 p.m., quickly turned into a verbal clash between the defense and the public prosecutor. The presiding judge started reading messages attributed to the accused dated back to January 2020. These messages included serious accusations against the Beninese army, suspected of firing on civilians in Savi, a town in the central Benin, during a post-election crisis of 2019. However, Steve Amuzo did not have the opportunity to defend himself. His lawyer, Mr. Julien Togbaja, intervened at the start of the trial to challenge the legality of the proceedings. Mr. Togbaja contested the validity of the charges and raised several irregularities.
The link is meant to be sent because we are dealing with a discipline that oversees the legality of the individual's rights. We have informed the relevant authority that the case will be represented before the Constitution Tuesday. It is crucial to address this issue because it involves the violation of personal rights and dignity. You need to understand that the best conditions for him are the best conditions for the trial. This is important to us, which is why we are consulting on this matter. Our priority is to address the question of legality. When someone is arrested outside the territory, it should not be brought here. We do not want to resolve this inappropriately. However, we cannot ignore the judge's case. This is the most pressing issue for Tuesday. We must first address this question of legal order. After that, we will return to the main issue. But we are ready to go all the way. He will follow this path carefully and leave a mark.
This verbal confrontation heightened tension in the courtroom. After an hour of heated exchanges, the judge decided to postpone the case to March 10, 2025. This delay will allow the Constitutional Court to rule on the pending appeal and ensure that all the parties have the necessary elements for a balanced debate.
Christopher Aticho voiced that report filed in by our Cotonou correspondent Aziz Adam Soleil. In Côte d'Ivoire, the price of a ton of cement has been reduced by 7,000 CFA francs as part of effort to combat the high cost of living. This reduction was announced through an interministerial decree dated December 26, 2024, signed by the Minister of Commerce and Industry, Suleiman Jarasuba, and the Minister of Finance and Budget, Adama Coulibaly. The new cement prices are now applicable nationwide. Consumer associations were quick to respond to this measure. Albanade provides more details in this report voiced by Abdullahi Hassan.
According to the government's decision, the maximum prices including tax per ton of cement are set between 95,000 and 99,000 CFA francs delivered to the factory. At wholesalers, the price of a ton of cement is set between 97,000 and 101,000 CFA francs, while the price of a ton of cement at retail is between 102,000 CFA francs and 106,250 CFA francs. A decision welcomed by the President of the General Union of Consumers of Côte d'Ivoire, Nguesson Kwaku.
The decision is welcomed and could be interesting as it allows us to buy cement at a slightly lower cost. We still find it expensive, but with the right policies, if prices can continue to decrease, it will benefit the purchase of cement. We always ask for more. We want the price to be 60,000 CFA francs as it was in the past, or at least 70,000 CFA francs. The government should ensure this 7,000 CFA francs reduction is effective and sustainable.
However, Nguesson Kwaku hopes that the measure will be extended to other products in this period of high cost of living in the country.
Rice and soup are essential goods. If we can get a good deal on these items, it will help the population significantly. Rice is extremely expensive. Once we passed September, the price of rice seemed to have increased even more. It appears that fetch prices have also risen significantly, making it even harder for people to afford. Any reduction in these prices will be a great relief for everyone.
That was Albanaday's report, voiced by Abdullah Hassan. And before we go for the press review, on Tuesday morning, an accident on the Ila-Tuba highway between Bambey and Rafin in Jobel region of Senegal has left at least 11 dead and 9 injured, 8 of whom were in serious condition. The incident occurred when a minibus hit a broken-down vehicle locally called Njaganjai, causing the other driver to overturn. According to state media APS, the wounded were evacuated to the hospitals of Bambey and Kombole, while the bodies of the victims were transported to the morgue of the Jobel Hospital.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, let's head now to Monrovia as we join Grace Joshua for the newspaper review.
For today's edition of the press review, papers we are following are the Heritage newspaper, the Daily Observer newspaper, the New Republic newspaper, the Nation Time newspaper, and the front page Africa newspaper. On the front page of the Heritage newspaper, this story says Speaker Khan urged action on key legislative priorities during SONA launch. Still on the front page of the Heritage newspaper, neglected healthcare system blamed for death of 17-year-old Liberian footballer. The tragic death of 17-year-old Liberian footballer Amara Kamara has sparked outrage over the deplorable state of Liberia's healthcare system. Still on the front page of the Heritage newspaper, this story says Fiji CBL unveiled 8 months project to enhance financial literacy and inclusion across Liberia. The project, implemented along with Parrots Consultancy Incorporated, seek to provide citizens with the knowledge and tools needed to make informed financial decisions. Still on the Heritage newspaper, we are Salif Boycott President Bouaka Sona address. Liberia's star story never ends. I see the photograph of Senator Amara Kano here. We now move to the Daily Observer newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Observer newspaper, the government of Liberia set sight on US $30 billion investment. Police IG comment promises reform accountability. Place highlight patrol police at the core of police reform. On the front page of the New Republic newspaper, this story says IG comment reaffirm commitment to justice and transparency. I bring a part of that story. Still on the front page of the New Republic newspaper, Bear Mountain rehabilitates major road in Cape Mount. I bring you this one on the back page of the Nation Time newspaper. This story says Bouaka to address disunity. No mercy for one boutique. This one says phone disbursed for work at major facilities in Bong. On the front page of the front page Africa newspaper, this one says Liberians express mixed reaction to President Bouaka's first year in office. That is how we come to our end of today's edition of the press review.
Many thanks, Great Joshua, with the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, reactions are trailing the speech of President John Mahama of Ghana, which linked the challenges faced by the African Union to overdependence on foreign support. In this segment, our guest, security strategy analyst Anthony Akwe, speaks to WDL why the regional bloc has to brace up and not rely on foreign aids.
I critically agree to this notion and the position by the President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, in the sense that these foreign aids, in a way, weakens the leadership of AU. It undermines the AU's ability to project power and negotiation on global platforms. Again, since the AU is being funded by the foreign aid in terms of its security efforts and that of conflict resolution, it becomes very critical for AU to take up these challenges in terms of handling conflicts and security matters independently. And these are very critical issues that weakens the Africa's approach in handling conflict and handling security matter, because the idea is that the resources that is needed to tackle the issue of insecurity within the continent is coming from the foreign organizations.
What other ways or means can the AU employ to ensure that, like you mentioned, they can also be independent and continue in the intervention efforts across these areas that you have listed?
The AU must take a bold step by increasing the contribution from each member state, one. And the two, the AU must promote intra-Africa trade and economic cooperation. The third one is for them to develop an independent financial institution like Africa Development Bank and to encourage private sector investment instituted within the AU program.
Does this include the free trade agreement, which has barely started?
That was one of the critical ideas for constituting and, in the first place, establishing, this continental trade center, which, at the end of the day, will bring all member states together in order to promote goods and services that are being produced within the continent. And so I believe that it is up to the AU to strengthen this sector of investment, which will go a long way to help the continent as a whole.
That was Anthony Akwe, a security strategy analyst. Well, Morocco is warming up for the African Cup of Nations hosting as the draws has come to an end. Well, here is Agli Janko with more on sport news.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The final draw of CAF Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 was concluded on Monday in Rabat, Morocco. The teams were drawn into 6 groups, each containing 4 sides ahead of the 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026 finals tournament that will be spread across 6 host cities and 9 stadia in Morocco as Africa's best chase the continent's most coveted trophy. Host Morocco headlines Group A and will take on Mali, Zambia and Comoros. Record 7-time winners Egypt face a trio of South African teams in Group B in the form of last year's bronze medalist South Africa, Angola and Zimbabwe. In Group C, Nigeria will lock horns with Tunisia and East African duo of Uganda and Tanzania, who will be CAF AFCON co-host in 2027. The 2021 champions Senegal go up against Democratic Republic of Congo, Benin and Botswana in Group D. Algeria winners in 2019 take on Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea and Sudan in an interesting Group E. And defending champions Cote d'Ivoire face old rivals and 5-time winners Cameroon, Gabon and Mozambique in Group F as they look to claim back-to-back titles. The top 2 teams in each pool will advance to the round of 16, along with the 4 best third-place sides. Morocco is hosting the CAF AFCON for the first time since 1988. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umudan Yogo for the technical support. Do connect with us on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, at WDR News, and Facebook West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New